Hello, hello, hello. I haven't worn this gray sweatshirt in a long time. It was like at the bottom of my dirty clothes pile, and I washed all of my clothes this weekend. So I dragged it out. It has been a good day. Long day. So anyway, let's see. I'll tell you about what my day was like first. So we slept in, and then we went to brunch today. God, it seems like so long ago. We went to brunch at Cafe Patachou, our favorite place, and I had an omelet and a bagel and coffee. The coffee was cinnamon hazelnut, and it was so good. They have like, this place that we go, they have like 4 different kinds of coffee, 4 or 5 different kinds of coffee, like 2 decaf and like 4 different kinds, 2 decaf and 2 regular. And it's always different every time you go, and you just like serve yourself. And it was fun. And then we went home, and then I had to go run some errands, and Alex like cleaned some of the house. And then I came back, and he was working on some stuff, and I made my YouTube videos, and then I for my other channels, and then I started uploading those, and then I was working on my merch stuff. My thumb, I finally have the Band-Aid off of it from last night, but like it still hurts. And earlier today, like when we were getting ready to go to brunch, I took it off, and then I thought it was fine, and I went into my pocket to I had Band-Aids in there to pull out my Band-Aids, and it like opened again, and it was like bleeding everywhere. I was like, ah. So finally tonight, I'm able to it doesn't have a Band-Aid on it, but it's still really sore. But I really had a hard time typing and doing stuff today, so I didn't do a lot of that. I didn't do a lot of computer work today, so because people were asking me, they're like, your merch was supposed to come out today, and it was, and I didn't end up putting it out today because I just didn't get it up the way that I want it to be. I'm trying to kind of make the store, so to speak, look appropriate. So anyway, and I had one more thing that I wanted to one more logo I wanted made. So I went in and had that made. And when that's done, it'll come up. So it'll be sometime this week. But anyway. And then my plan was to go over to Tanya's to watch the Academy Awards, which you guys know is such a big deal for me. I think I'm going to talk about just the Academy Awards in general in a second, and movies that have meant a lot to me and things like that I used to watch. But I called Tanya and I was like, are we going to do the Academy Awards? And ever since my mom has passed away, because they were always such a big deal to me and my mom when I was growing up, and then we used to always watch them together. And Tanya was like, I'm really tired. She's like, I've worked all day long today. She's like, I don't even really know a lot of the movies. She's like, I think I'm going to pass this year. She's like, is that cool? And I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. And Alex already had plans to go over to his brother's house for dinner, a late dinner, because his brother got off at 9, because he thought I was going over to Tanya's. So he was like, well, why don't you just come with me? And I was like, okay. And it was really weird. I got kind of really sad about it. I was like, this is the first year that I'm not watching the Academy Awards. I was like, it was strange. And Alex doesn't really like watching award shows. And so, I just was like, and Tanya didn't want to watch them, and I was like, this is weird, and I was like, I'm going to an Oscar party next year, and I was like, even if I was going to an Oscar party, it wouldn't be the same thing. It wouldn't be I don't know why. I was just telling Tanya this. I stopped by the kennel, because Tanya was at the kennel working, and I said, I don't know why it's taken me 10 years to realize that it's never going to be the same again, but it's never going to be the same again with my mom and I sitting there, drinking coffee and talking about the movies that won. So we went over to Carlos and Liliana's, and when we got there, it was just her, and then Carlos came in a little bit late because she had been shopping, so he had the kids, and so then he came in, and Carlitos was he carried Carlitos in. He was asleep. Sebastian was up, Hassie, we finally gave them their Christmas presents tonight. Well, Carlitos hasn't opened his, but Sebastian was so excited. So Hassie sent these presents for Sebastian and Carlitos, and Sebastian's was like this Dr. Seuss like train, and it was so cute. Alex sat on the floor the whole time, and he put it together with Sebastian, and Sebastian was so excited, and he just turned 2, and he held up the guy, and he goes, Seuss, Seuss. He knew who it was, and Alex was like trying to explain to Liliana, because she's like knows all the Dr. Seuss stuff, and she was like pronouncing it like wrong, and so he was like trying to teach her how to like pronounce it right, and then she made a rapist, and we sat there and ate, and then Alex's mom came over, and she was being real loud, playing with Sebastian, and one of Carlos's really good friends from Venezuela just moved here, and so he was like hanging out there too. I guess he's like moving to Miami, but he's like here visiting for a couple days or something. I don't know. So anyway, so like he was hanging out, and so I was like talking to him because he's like my age, and I was like asking him like how they knew each other and all this kind of stuff. He was a really nice guy. So anyway, but it was so loud. Sebastian, I'm trying to watch the Academy Awards, okay? Oh, so like Alex explained to Liliana, he was like, this is really important to Peter, and like he really likes to watch the award show and stuff. So she like turned the TV on. She was really sweet about it. She was like, I used to watch them all the time when I was in Venezuela, and she was like, I don't watch them anymore because I used to watch them with my family. And I was like, oh, I did too. And so, this was what was so weird. Alex was like, why don't, because Melissa's husband Jason is out of town. Well, Melissa, I thought she had told me she doesn't like award shows. So Alex was like, well, why don't you go over and watch it with Melissa? And I was like, I don't think Melissa likes award shows. And he was like, well, why don't you just text her? And I was like, I'll just come to dinner with you. So I get to dinner, and we drove there together. So like, and it's like, they live like a half an hour away from us. And so like 5 minutes after I got there, Melissa texted me, and she was like, hey, are you watching the Oscars? Do you want to watch them? And I was like, oh my God. I said, I didn't think you were going to watch them. She started laughing. She goes, I watch them every year. She was like, Jason won't watch them with me. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, well, we'll have to, Melissa and I will watch them from now on. So, but anyway, it turned out to be a really fun night. Like, we had so much fun, and, Sebastian's so sweet, and he was like bouncing on this like inflatable horse that he has, and then but at one point I'm like trying, okay, so like my favorite is where it goes best actor, best actress, best director, best picture. Okay, I mean, it's like the last 20 minutes of the show, last half hour, and so I'm like a foot away from the TV trying to listen. Alex and Liliana are in the kitchen, and he's showing her these Instagram like videos are like real funny, and it's like this woman, and she's like in Spanish, but she's speaking in one of those Snapchat filters, and they're laughing their ass off, and they're playing it like volume like high, and then Alex's mom, Carlos, and this guy are like talking, and then like Sebastian has his mom's phone watching a YouTube video. Actually, it was funny because at one point he was watching these YouTube videos of like these kids blowing bubbles. I don't know what, it had like 10 million views on it. I was like, I can't believe these kid shows get all these views. But anyway, so it had like he was watching this, like, and it was just this kid blowing bubbles, and he was like, so I go, I said, do you want to see another video? And he was like, yeah. So I turned on my like newest video about Manny Mua, and I like put it on, and he's like watching it, and he's like, so, like every time I would say something or flip a fan, he would kind of like turn his head. He was like so interested in it. No connection whatsoever that was me in the video. It was hilarious. He had like no idea who it was. So anyway, so he's watching this blowing bubble video, and Alex's mom is in the background, and she's like, Sebastian! And I was like, and I'm like this far away from the TV, and I can barely hear it, right? And it's like, I wanted to hear, Jane Fonda and Helen Mirren and what they had to say, and they're like, you could hardly hear it. I love Jane Fonda, and because of Grace and Frankie and 9 to 5 and on Golden Pond and stuff like that. So I'm sitting there, I'm trying to listen, and I love Helen Mirren, and I'm trying to listen to this damn thing, right? And I can't hear it. And then like, I'm rooting for Frances McDormand because I love her so much. She's one of my mom's favorite actresses. We loved her in Fargo, and she's just She's such a, you know, great character actress. And I'm like sitting there, and they're like doing all this kind of stuff. And this was so funny because Frances McDormand wins for Best Actress, and I go, yes, like that. And everybody like in the whole apartment just gets real silent, right? And I turn around, I was like, I'm sorry. They're like, Alex is like, don't worry about it. It was so funny. And then when they did the in memoriam thing, of course I'm bawling my eyes out. I didn't know that Sam Shepard had died. And John Hurd, I didn't know John Hurd had died. And they showed a clip of him in Sweet Dreams about Patsy Cline. And I was like, oh my God. Or not, it wasn't John Hurd in Sweet Dreams. It was John Hurd in Trip to Bountiful. And they showed, the clip from him from that movie, and I started crying. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know John Hurd had died. Trip to Bountiful is one of the most fantastic movies ever, and my mother and I both loved it. And it's with Geraldine Page, and Geraldine Page was a stage actress, and she had been in movies too, but like, she won her very first Oscar when she was like 70 for her role in Trip to Bountiful. And Trip to Bountiful is about this woman in the 40s, I think it takes place in the 40s, and she lives in like Dallas with her son and her daughter-in-law, Jessie May, and she doesn't get along with her daughter-in-law at all. And all she wants to do before she dies is go back to her hometown of Bountiful, Texas, just one time to see it before she dies. And she wants to go see her old friend that lives there. And the theme song is that softly and tenderly Jesus is calling. And it's just like, the movie is fantastic. And there's this whole scene that's like, she's on this bus, and what is that girl's name? Why can't I think of her name? I want to say it's like Renee, but it's not Renee. She was the one that played the prostitute in Risky Business. Teresa, is that her name? No, why can't I think of what her name is? But anyway, oh God, it's on the tip of my tongue. But she's in it, and she plays this like really sweet girl whose husband just got shipped off to war, and she's like on the bus, and they're talking. It's like in the middle of the night, and then she ends up at this bus station, and she has to stay there all night long because she lost her purse. She left it on the bus. It's just such a fantastic movie, and it's one of my favorite movies ever. And John Hurd was in it. He played her son. And Sam Shepard, you know, like for so long, Sam Shepard and Jessica Lange had this great love affair, and I just can't believe he's gone. He was fantastic too, you know? And, Mary J. Blige, up for 2 Oscars, didn't win either one of them. I love Mary J. Blige so much. I think the one thing about the Oscars is like, it still gives you hope, you know? That anything in life is possible. And, you know, there's always people there that are in their first movie ever, and other people like Meryl Streep that have been in it forever. And you know, it's the same feeling I get when I watch like the Country Music Awards, and they're just like such a family, right? This sweatshirt does not like film well. It looks anyway, it's not a part of my collection, my merch collection. But like, I don't know. It just gives you hope that like one day I too could be in a movie and win an Oscar. I mean, stranger things have happened, you know? I probably won't, but I could. But I could, you know? Oh my God, Allison Janney! I was just talking to her about it. I was just talking about her the other day in my vlog, and she won tonight for an Academy Award for I, Tonya. I was so happy for her. I feel like Allison Janney has worked her ass off. I work my ass off, Jeff. I feel like she has worked her ass off, and she's such a fantastic actress, and I was so happy. You guys see how passionate I get about the Academy Awards and acting and all kind of stuff? You'd think I'd have watched all the movies, but I hadn't seen any of them. Guardians of the Galaxy, that was the only movie I had seen, and which was up for like best, I don't know, editing or something, cinematography. Those are always the most boring awards, aren't they? But anyway, so yeah, I was super excited about that. You're so humble when she won. And then the guy that won for Best Actor, I didn't know. I have never seen him or in a movie before. I didn't know who that. I think he looks so familiar to me, but like when in the role in the movie, I had no clue who he was, and I had never heard of the movie before. So it actually actually kind of turned out to be a fun Oscar night. I got to watch the Oscars, and I was with my family, so it was kind of fun. You know, was it what I had planned for? No. You know, back in the day, it was like such a big deal. My mom and I would get dressed up, and I would come over there early, and we would watch like the 2 hours of red carpet stuff before. And my mom would get like 4 kinds of cheese. She would get like brie and Havarti, and she'd always get something that had some kind of fruit in it, some like strawberry, like not a spread, but like some cheese. You know, always like that was like the one time a year that she'd actually spend some money. And I think Alex knew that because he got like some like bread, like, you know, that's cut up into those little pieces of bread, and he got hummus, and we took it over there, and I don't know. He's just always he is just so sweet. You want to talk about marriage? Like, this is like the silly stuff that makes a marriage work. Like, we have been washing everything in our house, like our linens and everything, and Alex last night called me, and he was on his way home from going out. He went home kind of early. I think it was actually even before I filmed my vlog. And so when I got home, he was like dead asleep. And he had taken the blankets out of the dryer from down in the basement and like put them on, like, because we don't like share like one blanket. We share like the sheets, but then we don't share the blankets. And so he had put like my blanket up there. It was just, he had made it so nice. Like when I came home and had my pillows all puffed up and stuff like that. It was so sweet. Yeah, I think I did talk about him going home last night, because he called me and told me that he ran into that girl. And so. But it was a good day. A fun day. Now we're doing our countdown to Miami. I can't wait. We were talking to Carlos and Liliana about that tonight, about them staying at our house. They're like real excited about it. I'm like, Liliana said, well, our apartment's really small, so we're excited to have some more room. I was like, oh, okay. And then they're like gonna move into Alex's mom's house because she's gonna start traveling a lot. So they're moving in there, and in like April, like the end of April, the beginning of May, they're moving into Alex's mom's house. I'm getting all of these messages all of a sudden. Hold on, let me pull over and see what this is. Okay, my camera just shut off like while I was looking at that stuff. I have no idea why. Probably because of like the internal heat or something. So anyway, I loved it in the Oscars tonight. They showed like, what do you call it? Like the last 90 years of like, was it the 95th anniversary, 90th anniversary of like everybody who had like won like every year. I thought it was really, really cool that they did that. So anyway, Oscars are over, Oscar nights are over. So yeah, my mom and I, she would have cheese, and she'd make like some special kind of coffee that she would get, and we would sit there. And I guess what I miss the most about it is, you know, like we would have sat there and just like, you know, during the commercials, like talked, and then like it would come back on shh, she'd go shh. But then when she wanted to talk, she could talk. And, you know, then we would like, and it always goes like, you know, 40 minutes over. And I was thinking about this today when I was watching, like I watched the whole red carpet thing today. And I was thinking about this, and I was like, I just lost what I was thinking about. Oh my God, I've been taking that ginkgo biloba too. It's not helping me. I just lost my thought. Okay, wiggle your toes. It'll set off neurons in your brain. Red carpet. What was I thinking about? Oh my God, I can't believe that just happened to me. That was the weirdest thing. I literally was mid-sentence and I just forgot what I was gonna say. I don't know. Anyway, I just miss it. You know, like I miss like sitting around with my mom and like, oh, I know what I was gonna say. I just got it back. See, wiggle your toes and it sets off neurons in your brain and then you remember things. Okay. I was like thinking to myself, you know, like the Academy Awards always go over so late and they start at like 8. And so I would get there at like 6 and we would watch all the red carpet stuff. And I can remember like going over there and being like, oh my God, this is gonna be such a long night. But then at the end, I wouldn't want it to end. And my mom would say, well, do you want me to make you a bed up on the couch and you can just sleep on the couch? Because I always work Tuesday through Saturdays. And so, like, I had Mondays off, and I was like, no, Mom, I'll just, like, stay over here. I don't think any of my exes liked award shows either, because I don't ever remember them going with me. I think I just remember being by myself watching the Oscars with my mom. It was just always the two of us. Like, a couple of years she had parties, but it was like, I mean, when I say party, I mean like 5 people. One year it was really sweet. My mom was very, very sick for the Academy Awards, and she could get down. This wasn't the year that she died. It was like several years before that. And my mom like never got sick her whole life. It was weird. But this one year she was really sick, and my aunt and uncle went and bought her a brand new TV and brought it over so that she could like watch it. And she was so excited about it. And that was the TV that she had. I mean, we got rid of it when she passed away because it was like one of these huge TVs. Where did I give that TV to? Because I had TVs I had brought from my apartment. So where did that TV... I don't know what I did with that TV. Oh, we gave it to Alex's cousin Maya. That's what we did with it. You know, we have a TV, that TV in our bedroom that you see in the vlogs. We like never use that. You want to know why? You cannot get cable into the middle of our condo into that TV. So we can't have cable on that TV, which is ridiculous, right? And so we have a friend of ours that works for a cable company, and he was like, I can come over there and try to run it through there. He was like, so just call me over. And that he said that to us about a year ago, and we're so lazy. Well, you know the washer and dryer thing. We're so lazy that we still haven't called him to come over there and see if he can run cable up into the... He's like, it'll be real easy. I think I can do it. And I was like, okay. So we still haven't had him do that, but... We used to, like, on Fridays and Saturday nights, like when it was cold or we didn't want to go out, we would like go to the Redbox or we would go to Walmart and just buy them. We used to buy movies. I don't know why, but we would like, and my attitude about it was, well, it's cheaper to buy them at Walmart for like $14, like the new ones, than it is to go pay for movie tickets in the movie theater, which is true. But then why buy them if you're never going to watch them again? And we used to watch, we would like get in bed with all the dogs and we would have all kinds of candy and popcorn and stuff. We used to make these things, those boxes. Do you know what I'm talking about? You can get them at Walmart, and we would make that movie popcorn, and we would like spread out the bed. And I can remember in the summer we would have like the windows open, and Alex and I would just lay up there against the wall, and we would watch the movies. Alex prided himself on never crying in movies, and we got that movie one year. I can't remember who's in it. Is it that Mark Wahlberg? I think he might be in it. And it was called We Bought a Zoo. And I looked over at the end of that movie, and Alex is bawling his eyes out. And I was like, oh my God. And he's like, I know, this is the first movie I've ever cried in besides Dumbo. It was so sweet. It was the sweetest moment. We don't watch TV. We don't watch movies in there anymore. Alex is really big on like watching stuff on his computer now, so he like never, like, we don't watch movies in there. We used to like, we have one of those DVD players that has like all of the Netflix and everything built into it, so we just turn that on, and then we have like Netflix and, you know, all of the Hulus and all of that stuff on there. But the only one that we have is Netflix. We don't have Hulu, and we don't have Amazon Prime. I got something the other day, and I was like, from Amazon, and so they gave us like a free trial for 30 days, and I was surprised by, because I'd used like the free trial like years ago, and I was like, well, maybe I'll try it, and I'll go back and I'll watch Transparent, because I watched the first season of Transparent, and then I never finished it. Is it any good? Is it worth it? I loved that show back in the day, Transparent. I thought it was so good with Judith Light. You want to talk about what a fantastic actress Judith Light is? When she was on Who's the Boss? Okay, let's just be for real, not the greatest show in the world. Do you guys know that she's like this huge LGBT ally? Like, she's really supportive of the LGBT community. And I think it's because of the kid that played her son on that show, is like, he came out later. And Danny something, I can't remember what his name is, but that was kind of a big deal back in the day. I just remember that, I don't know how. But anyway, That house is beautiful back there. I've never seen that before. It's all lit up. So anyway, oh my God, you guys. Okay, well, hold on. Let me tell you the Judith Light thing real quick. So I do so feel like we're having a conversation today. I really do. Like, we're just sitting here talking. And is this boring to you guys? Do you like this, or is this boring? Of me just talking about rambling bullshit like movies and stuff. See, this is what I miss. This was my conversations with my mom. This is like a conversation with my mom. I love you, Mom. So anyway, Judith Light. Okay. She was so good and transparent. Did you guys see her in the assassination of Gianni Versace? Completely different. Flawless, right? She is such a great character actress. I'm like, I was blown away. And that's what I'm talking about that gives people hope. It's like, okay, so Judith Light was in Who's the Boss? Like what? Like 30 years ago plus? 40 years ago? And then here's, oh God, it couldn't have been that long. She's not that old, I don't think. How long ago was Who's the Boss on? If Who's the Boss was on the 80s, 90s, I can't do math. I don't have my glasses on, I can't do math. I can't do math even if I have my glasses on. 80s and 90s, 2000. So what? It's been on 30 years ago, something like that. Let's just say if it was on in 85, 95, 95 to 05 to 15, 35 years ago. There's my math skills, you guys. That's why I'm not a mathematician. Anyway, I don't know what I was saying. So, but like 35 years she's been doing this, and like she's so fantastic. It's like Mickey Rourke when he came back a couple years ago and won the Oscar, you know? It's like for that Wrestler movie or whatever that show was called. I don't know, I didn't see it. But it's like but that's cool, you know? Like, don't you think? I do. Okay, so I know what I was gonna tell you guys. I'm like losing my thoughts tonight. I don't know why. But I've been up too long, and I took like a 40-minute nap too. It was so funny. Okay, so tonight, like after I got everything done, I like told Alex, like before we went over to their house, I was like, I just want to lay down for like a half an hour, 45 minutes. And he goes, 45 minutes, right? I go, yeah, 45 minutes. So he was watching his computer in bed, and all the dogs were up there, and I was laying down, and I turned on my side, and I don't know if you've ever done this before, but like a good nap for me is like 2 or 3 hours, okay? Seriously. I completely fell out. I mean, like, I must have been out in the first 5 minutes, and so the next thing I know, my alarm's going off, right? And I like reach over, and I'm thinking it's like in the morning, like I don't even know that Alex is like right there, and I go, 5 more minutes. I say it out loud because like when the dogs are there in the mornings, I always just go 5 more. I take them out in the early mornings so they can go potty, and then I come back up, and like when it starts going off, I go 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes, and I go, okay, you guys, 5 more minutes. And it's so cute because PP always just comes and sits right like by me and like boos on my chest, or PP's on my leg, boos on my chest, and then Tucker sits on the pillow. And when I go, okay, you guys, 5 more minutes, they like go right back to their positions. It's so cute. And so I said it like twice, and like the alarm went off the third time, and I hit it off. And before I even said it, Alex goes, 5 more minutes. So yeah, it was hilarious. But anyway, and then I got up because I was like, oh, I didn't even know you were here. Oh my Lord. Okay. So people keep on asking me to watch this documentary on, this sweatshirt is killing me tonight, okay? I'm not looking like nobody's fashion model of the world up in this sweatshirt and hat tonight. Let's just be for real, and I don't even care. So, everybody's been asking me to watch this documentary on Netflix called Into the Abyss. So, I started watching it last night. It begins very bizarre, okay? Like, very, very bizarre. And I have to say, it's like, it's not a bad documentary. Like, it's good. It's interesting. It's real interesting to me. It's about this killer. It's about these kids, and they're in high school, and they kill these 3 people. And that's all I'll tell you, because you should watch it. But it starts with this, like, minister, and he's talking about like death row, and it's like his interview is like, all the interviews in the movie are real awkward, and I think part of it is like the guy that like does the documentary, and he's like speaking in the background, he's like not a great like narrator, and so like, and he's like, if you're doing a documentary, okay, you're supposed to be somewhat objective, and he's totally not. Like, he's interviewing one of the killers, and the killer says something about, like, he asked him about something about how do you feel about like being on death row or whatever, being dead in 20 days. He's being what do you call it? It's about capital punishment. So anyway, so he says in there something about it, and the kid's like, well, my innocence is not the question. It's what are they going to do about it now that they know I'm innocent? And I haven't finished it yet. I have like half of it still to finish. And the guy's like, well, you committed some very serious crimes. And he goes, but I'm still a human being, and I don't believe that you should be put to death. And I'm like, okay, aren't you supposed to be kind of objective as a documentarian? Like, I thought that, right? Maybe not. Like, I mean, I guess like Paradise Lost wasn't. But like, if you go watch those Eileen Wuornos movies, like the guy never really takes a side. Have you guys watched those Eileen Wuornos documentaries? Oh, they're fantastic. It's called something like The Life and Death of a Serial Killer or something like that. They're so good. They're on Netflix. They're about Eileen Wuornos, that was the first female serial killer, supposedly, and she, they made the movie Monster with Charlize Theron after her. But anyway, another great movie. And Christina Ricci was in it too. She was so good in it. I'm gonna need gas here in just a little bit. I don't know why I just realized that. But what was I? I'm like this, trying to think. I'm doing that Marlis and Mabon look. But anyway, what am I trying to think? Oh, I just thought the documentary is done kind of weird so far. There was this one part, and maybe it'll play out later, I don't know, but they interview this guy, and it like makes absolutely no sense, except for that, like, the last part of his interview, he's just like standing in his yard, and the last part of his interview, he's talking about, like, they interview him forever, and the last part of his interview is about, like, he overheard the two killers in a bar talking about how they killed people, and like, and then, but like the 10 minutes leading up to it is about how he was in a fight in this yard, and the guy wanted to shoot him, and he almost got shot, but he didn't get shot, and this person and that person. The names are so confusing. There's like a Jeremy that was killed and a Jason that was the killer. And so like when they're interviewing like their brothers, you don't know if the brothers and the siblings, it's so confusing. It just is so weird. And I followed it up to like, I could understand what was going on until the part where they interviewed the sister and the daughter of the two people that were killed. But after that, it kind of got like I didn't understand what was going on after that. The names started getting confusing to me, and I didn't understand why they were interviewing some of the people. So, I don't know. I'm going to finish the rest of it, and maybe it'll make more sense to me after that. We can only hope, right? But I like those kind of documentaries. There's a documentary on Netflix, too. I think it's called, like, A Face in the Crowd or One in a Million or something like that. And it's about this guy, and he's on, like, he's been convicted of a murder, but his alibi is that he was at a baseball game the day and the exact time that it happened. Well, they were shooting some movie there that day, or some footage or something, and so they go and they like try to subpoena. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? I haven't watched it. I want to watch it. They like subpoena this film footage, and they have to go through frame by frame by frame to see if he's in it. I want to see it so bad. It's supposed to be so good, and yeah, but I haven't seen it. I love documentaries so much. Oh my god. I mean, I love movies, but documentaries are fantastic. I'm trying to think of some, I mean, I talked about this the other night, some of my favorite documentaries, but Paris is Burning. The Life and Death of Martha B. Wash, whatever her name was. I watched that last year. That was great. Martha, what was her name? Marsha Washington, was that her name? Did you guys see what I'm talking about? Oh, fantastic. And then, The Queen of Versailles, about the woman that's married to that really rich guy, and she was like Mrs. Florida in a beauty pageant, and like they build the house on the other side of Lake Disney, but they don't have enough money to finish it. It's really interesting, and it's kind of sad too, really, her whole perspective. And then, well, the beauty documentaries I talked about, but those weren't really like documentaries. And then I really liked whenever we're on vacation, I always watch a lot of documentaries because I tend to, like, every night, like, you know, Alex always goes to bed like an hour or two before I am, and we're like in a hotel room, so it's like I try to watch, like, you know, a documentary like on my phone with my headphones on. And last year, 2 years ago, I watched We Were Here. Was this last year, maybe? I think it was last year. I watched like 4 documentaries 4 nights in a row. Oh, well, last year, I'll tell you what I watched. I watched This Is Everything, the Gigi Gorgeous documentary. I paid to get YouTube Red for 2 weeks, and watched it. It was fantastic. I mean, it really was a good documentary. If you guys haven't seen it and you have any interest in Gigi Gorgeous or people that are transgender or whatever, it's very well done. It's very interesting. But then last year I watched, let's see, this documentary about Divine, who was the drag queen actor that was in all of John Waters' movies. That documentary was very, very interesting, like who he was and how he became who he was. And then I watched, I'm trying to think of all my favorite documentaries. Well, Paris is Burning is probably my all-time favorite documentary. And the Eileen Wuornos ones. I love those. And the Paradise Lost series about the Memphis 3 that killed those kids, supposedly, and then they got off. Those are fantastic, too. Oh my God, I cannot believe I am forgetting this. My all-time favorite documentary of life is The Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia. Okay, that documentary is unreal. That is so good. But anyway, and then, I don't even think that's on Netflix anymore. I don't even know how you see it. Okay, then I watched last year, I watched this one about Candy Darling, who was part of like the Studio 54, She worked for Andy Warhol. She was trans. That was really interesting. And they had like interviews with like Holly Woodlawn in there and stuff. And that was like unbelievable to hear about that whole story. I mean, Lou Reed, Walking the Wild Side, you know? Candy Darling's in that, and she was friends with Andy Warhol. And it was really kind of sad. You watch this one part, and like Holly talks about this in there, that like, if you have any interest in like The Factory, Andy Warhol's The Factory and stuff like that, I used to like be really into all that. One of the things that's really sad when you watch that documentary is that they talk about, well, I didn't realize, do you guys know who Candy Darling is? Okay, so Candy Darling was like one of Andy Warhol's like closest like gals, and she was trans, and Holly Woodlawn's trans, and she's still like, she lives in, I think, like LA, and is still alive today, and it's like, but anyway, her story in there was so interesting too. And so Candy, they like tell her story and how she came to New York, and she just had such an essence about her, and that all these people, and like I had heard about her like in relationship to Andy Warhol, but I didn't like know. And it's really sad. It's told through the point of view of like her roommate down the road, who then like paid for this tombstone for her and all this stuff. So it goes kind of back and forth, but like, she was like such a center of all of this stuff, and she was like in all these plays, and they talked about all these plays that she put on, and that she was like this big actress, and that Tennessee Williams like wrote a play for her. I was like, Tennessee Williams wrote a play for Candy Darling? Like, I never knew that. It was so interesting. So I watched those two, and then I watched We Were Here, which was about the beginning of the whole like AIDS generation in the Castro district of San Francisco. And I watched it because Alex and I had just watched A Normal Heart, or whatever that movie was, with Julia Roberts and Mark Ruffalo. That was fantastic. It was so good, wasn't it? If you guys haven't seen it, it was so good. That was about the New York City Men's Health Crisis Center, or whatever that was called. And which is interesting about what I'm going to tell you next. So I watched We Were Here, and it's told through like 5 people's point of views, and it's really interesting. And like, here was the thing that was the most interesting to me, was that I came out in 1990, and when I came out, it was on the heels of all of these guys that like were like popular in the gay community had just passed away, like in the last year or two before. And it was like, I remember going out to like, you know, gay bars, and like AIDS was like a big deal. Like everybody talked about it. It was like everybody was terrified of it. You know, you never once, like there's this whole, you know, this, everybody talks about, like everybody, I feel like this whole unprotected sex thing is like in porn and everything out there now, and the younger generation doesn't really get it, you know, and like, I mean, when I came out, drug addicts and gay men were the two people that got AIDS, and so there was a stigma of AIDS attached to the gay community that, I don't know, I think that's why, one of the reasons why I have such a huge issue with people using that as a put down or derogatory word to somebody is because you're stealing millions of people's stories when you do that, you know? And like, when some slanderous things were said about me and they said to me like, oh, he has AIDS or he's HIV, I'm like, okay, first of all, if I did, I would come on here and tell my story to hopefully help somebody else, you know? That's not shit to joke about. You don't put that on somebody, and I mean, that's not funny. Like, I don't know. That's where I kind of draw the line, you know? Like, there's some, that's not funny when you talk about people that way and you're taking their stories away from them. But, so I came out into this community, you know, that was doing like, you know, Ryan White had just like died, you know, and that was a huge deal. And you know, the, what do you call it, the quilt was going around. Do you guys remember the quilt? The quilt was going around, and you know, there was like gay marches and AIDS fundraisers constantly, you know, and like you would go somewhere and there'd be like a drag show for like an AIDS fundraiser, and it was just like everywhere you went was like about that. And so people were talking about it, you know, and you would never have had unprotected sex back then. You just wouldn't have, you know? Like, I don't remember it ever being like a question of not using condoms for safer sex practices. Just, you know, I can't remember like ever not seeing bowls of condoms and lube and stuff like that and free testing always in the bars, in the gay community, always, you know? And I think one of the reasons why AIDS is less prevalent and HIV is less prevalent, and basically, I mean, other than the cocktail of drugs that came out and started, you know, helping people and saving lives to the point where they're, you know, 20 years asymptomatic, because that's a huge part of it, you know, but the gay community took ownership over what was happening to their own and said, we're going to stop this. We're not going to continue to have unprotected sex, and we're going to not continue to, you know, we're going to do what we can, I think, at that point. And because I remember it was like people were vigilant about it, you know, and but like I've said before, all my friends when I came out were like 25, 26, 27, so they had a lot of friends that had recently passed away, you know, and they would talk about them. And I specifically remember them talking about this one guy named Michael, and he must have been like the most popular person in Indianapolis, because I feel like everywhere I went for like my first couple years out, when I would go to parties and stuff, everybody would talk about, oh my god, I miss Michael, and do you remember when he did this, and do you remember when he did that, and so it was just there, it was prevalent, you know. Well, what was interesting to me, and I had seen the movie Longtime Companion, which is like one of my favorite movies ever, and if you guys haven't seen it, it's about how it's like the beginning of HIV comes out in New York City, and like how they find out about it and stuff, and it's just done so well. Campbell Scott is in it, and I can't remember the guy that plays his boyfriend, but it's really a good movie. And they called it The Gay Cancer, and so it's about them like reading it in the newspaper, and they're all on Fire Island when it starts, and so it follows a group of friends through several years. And the guy that plays Jake in 16 Candles is actually in it too, Michael Schumacher or whatever. He just left the acting world completely. He makes like, he's like a furniture maker out in the middle of nowhere some now, and has married and has kids or something. But anyway, what was so weird to me watching, what is this guy doing? He's like on the wrong side of the road. What was so weird to me watching this documentary called We Were Here, which was fantastic and so educational, was that I didn't realize that the AIDS crisis started like in the late 70s. And like, I don't remember people talking about it like in the late 70s. I just don't, you know? And I don't really remember people talking about it till like the middle 80s. And so that was interesting to me. I'll tell you another documentary I really like was Strike a Pose about the Madonna dancers. That just came out last year. But then last year, so I watched that last year, and then I also watched this documentary that's on Netflix, and it's called How to Stop a Crisis, or How to Stop a Plague. And it is so good. And so it kind of it's not by the same people, but it kind of picks up where, so when you watch We Were Here, it's about this guy that was like a flower seller, like a florist in San Francisco, and a nurse, and people that just lived in Castro. Follows like 5 or 6 of them, and they tell their stories about how they were affected by the AIDS crisis. And How to Stop a Plague kind of picks up right where it left off, like in chronological order, in New York City, with the beginning of the Gay Men's Health Crisis Organization, or whatever. I can't remember what it's called. And that's basically the movie A Normal Heart was based on. And it is so interesting. And you guys, it follows like these 5 guys and how they started this organization, and they went to like the World Health Organization, and it is so interesting to see what they did. And they are literally the reason why some of the cocktail of drugs exists today. And it's just very, very interesting. And the way that they do the documentary is very sneaky, because you're watching it, the whole time you're watching it, you're kind of like, well, what happened to these guys? Where are they at today? Did they die? Are they not here? Because all of them are HIV positive when the movie is being, like when they're talking about it. They were all HIV positive back in the day. And so it's really interesting. The other thing that's really interesting about, the document, I'm going to stop this because it's going to stop anyway in about 2 seconds. So I'm going to stop it. I'll be right back. Okay. The other thing that's really interesting about that documentary and the movie they don't talk about it so much in A Normal Heart, but in the documentary they really do, is the importance that lesbian women played in the helping of the education and the prevention and stopping of the AIDS crisis within the gay community. And they talk in there so much about it, like how lesbians volunteered their time, and it was really a coming together of the LGBT community at that time. And I don't know that I've seen that since then. There's such separatism in the LGBT community, and it makes me really sad. I don't remember that back in the day. It's there just is such separatism within the gay community and the LGBT community. I don't know how to say it unless you experience it, but it just, at least where I am, it feels that way. And the sad thing is that Indianapolis doesn't even really have that much of a gay community. I mean, it has a gay community of gay men and gay women, or lesbians and bisexual people and trans people that live here, but not actively out going to do stuff in gay bars, gay walks. Yes, they have Pride Day and it's huge in Indianapolis, but a lot of those people come from all over Indiana. The gay scene in Indianapolis just isn't that fun anymore, It's interesting. We were having this conversation with another couple the other night, a straight couple, and not that it matters, but because I'm talking about this, and I said that, and Alex goes, well, I don't agree with that. And I go, you don't agree that the gay scene is kind of over in Indianapolis? He goes, no, not at all. He was like, this bar's open, this bar's open. I go, well, you go out more than I do. And he was like, yeah. And I go, but the difference is, back in the day, there were 5 drag bars, 2 major clubs, 5 small bars. We had a restaurant, we had 5 or 6 gay restaurants, an entire street that was gay owned and operated. He goes, was it really like that back in the day? I go, oh my God, yeah. When I came out, it was totally like that, this whole section of Mass Ave and College and all over down there was just all gay, and every store you went to had a rainbow flag in it. And then, you know, he goes, well, we have this bar, which is kind of like a loungy bar, and he's like, there's always a line to get in this bar, and I'm like, yeah, because those are basically 2 out of the 3 bars that are left in Indianapolis that are gay. But I don't know. Even if there were all those clubs, I probably wouldn't go out, so I don't go out anywhere. So yeah, so those are some of the documentaries that I love. I'm trying to think of what else I love. Other documentaries that I think are really good. I can't think. I know that they're... Well, one that really impacted me, I wouldn't say it was this great one, but I can't remember what it was called. It is on Netflix too, but it's about the ASPCA and how they take dogs that are like endangered and they train them so that they can go into homes. That one was really, really interesting. And just showing them, like, they've never walked on stairs before. Like, that part was really interesting to me. And how dogs trust human beings and how you earn that trust from them. And the one thing that really stood out to me in that was when the woman says, and I've talked about this on here before, there are some dogs that are born to fear and all they have ever known their entire life is fear. And I think that, like, just drives me crazy because I'm like, can you imagine all your life only knowing fear? Like, seriously, only, like, that's so, I mean, and there are a lot of humans out there that that's all that they've known, but I almost think, like, as far as taking some things for granted, that's definitely something I take for granted, that I haven't had to live in fear all my life, you know? I can't imagine what that would be like. I'm almost out of water. I'm gonna take another sip. Tanya watches a ton of documentaries. She's usually the one that tells me to watch documentaries. Oh, here's some other ones. Okay, so God Camp on Netflix. That was really good. Oh, I need gas. But I'm going to choose not to have that conversation on here because I don't know what, you know, people's religious beliefs are. That was interesting to me because it was about, like, evangelical Christians and the camps that the kids go to. Tanya grew up Pentecostal, and so, like, I remember we watched that, and I was like, is this really what it's like? And she was like, oh yeah, this is what, it's still like this. And then we watched, what was the one? It's about a religious cult. The guy that was always in the water, and he was like, and he would put on these huge theatrical things, and he was real tan, and he wore like bikinis. Have you guys seen that one? It's real weird, but it's very interesting. And then the other night I watched that Waco, Madman or Messiah. I feel like I've watched other ones that are really good though. I'll watch documentaries just about anything. So if you guys have some suggestions for documentaries, will you list them below? Preferably ones that are on Netflix, because I'm always trying to find new documentaries. My neck hurts, probably from straining to watch that TV so close tonight. But I was so happy I got to see my nephew. He's so sweet. You know when people say, like, kids grow up so fast? They do. Like, it was so funny because we were sitting there tonight. I haven't really heard him. He jabbers away, but I don't understand anything he's saying. But Liliana, at one point, like, Alex's mom had brought these cookies, and so she was like passing them around, and she like gave one to him, and Liliana said she goes, say thank you, and he said thank you. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, he's speaking, Liliana. She's like, I know, he's speaking, he's trying to. So anyway, but we didn't get to see Carlitos because he was asleep. Well, you guys, listen, I think I'm going to get off here now and listen to a little bit of my audiobook and then go home and go to sleep. We have a vet appointment tomorrow with all 3 dogs. That'll be real fun. Alex is working a half day, and then he's going to help me go to that tomorrow. So, yeah, it's going to be real fun. let me just tell you what it's like to take the dogs, all 3 of them, to the vet. It's crazy town. So anyway, Boo and Tucker, well, all 3 of them, they need their shots, but Boo and Tucker need checkups too, and we're just going to do a check-in with Pee-Pee. So that's, I mean, nothing's going wrong. He's fine tonight, but it's scheduled appointment check-in. So anyway, all right, you guys, let me know if you liked that conversation, if you thought it was like, I felt like it was just like us talking, but I mean, it was obviously just me talking and you watching. I'm not going to sit here and be one of those crazy YouTubers that acts like we're really having a conversation, even though I'm sure many of you talk back to my YouTube videos from time to time. Anyway, I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.